In theory, the Nintendo Switch Joy-Con are amongst my favorite controllers to have ever been invented. In practice, they leave quite a bit to be desired. Some of that is for obvious drift-related reasons. Most of it, though, is more complicated than that. Dare I say it, more prosumer-minded than that. Today's video will be not only about fixing the Joy-Cons, but improving them with core gamers in mind. So, let's talk about it. This is the part of the video where I would normally plug our Discord community. Today is different. I'm not going to tell you to click the link in the description to join our Discord. Okay, back to the video. It's impossible to talk about Joy-Con in their current state without talking at least a little bit about Joy-Con drift. One of my main reasons for throwing my hat into the ring on this topic is I personally avoid using the Joy-Con when playing Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and it's not for any kind of controller preference or the prevailing idea that the definitive controller for Smash is the GameCube controller. I personally still opt to not use the GameCube controller when playing Smash. Rather, it's the increased amount of wear and tear that comes from basic techniques like mashing out of grabs, broken shields, and being grounded from attacks, and advanced techniques like attack canceling, reverse aerial rush attacks, and a bunch of other things that many of you likely couldn't care less about. So to get to the point, doing all of that as often as I did and do led me to replacing my left Joy-Con 4 times so far, and having since sworn off using handheld mode when I play Smash altogether because of it. I think a big part of making a premium Joy-Con of sorts is making a controller that either has higher quality components that aren't as susceptible to the side effects of playing games in this way, or by making them modular like the Xbox One Elite controllers. Doing any of those two things could help mitigate the drift issue, and that's all well and good, but I also think the Joy-Con need to be improved even further than that. Some third-party manufacturers have sought to do just that in some ways, and in regard to superficial customization, Nintendo of Japan has too. This video isn't meant to focus too much on what we already have, because they all fall short of what I believe should be happening. To sum all of that up, I enlisted the help of the Nintendo controller master himself, Bob Wolf, to talk about all of the Joy-Con options so far.
There are a lot of options for a weird aftermarket Joy-Con. There are some that are cheap and garbage. You don't want those. There are some that are cheap and good, like the HORI D-pad controller. It just adds a D-pad to the left Joy-Con. That controller only works on the Switch itself. You can't detach it from the Switch, you can't put it in a grip, nothing like that. But the fact that there's barely any internals makes it pretty cheap. It's only about 20 bucks. HORI also makes the, what the hell is it called? Split Pad Pro, this giant monstrosity that is pretty comfortable to hold. It was for that game Daemon X Machina, remember that? These Joy-Con are $50. That's a lot of money to just get a comfortable grip. You could just get a grip for that and have a much better quality controller. The only other ones that I've tried extensively are the GameCube looking ones by some no-name brand. Those were also not good. They were very cheap feeling. There seems to be a running theme here where they're all cheap feeling. I would love to see a company like 8-Bit Do make a Joy-Con. Make my favorite Switch controller, the SN30 Pro Plus, or just the regular SN30 Pro. Make that into some sort of Joy-Con concoction. Put that D-pad on the top part of the Joy-Con. Make a big fat D-pad to focus. That's what I want to see. Or better yet, Nintendo should get on it. Instead of making these Nintendo Switch Online controllers like they did for the SNES and the NES, make that a Joy-Con. But anyway, I gotta get back over to my channel where I talk about blasphemy. Something not Switch related. I'm so sorry.
I think the opportunity to meet the needs of gamers that enjoy multiple genres is something that Nintendo leaves unanswered. Ironically, given the nature of the Nintendo Switch and the Joy-Con, they could be the perfect controller for everyone pretty easily. It wouldn't be that much more work to adjust their offering accordingly to make that happen. The way I see it, they could go about doing this in a few ways. The first and most obvious way would have to be by following Microsoft's lead in creating a wide range of Joy-Con Joy-Con that fit the needs of every kind of player. Joy-Con too small for you? There should be a set for that. Play a lot of platformers or other games that require primarily using a D-pad? There should be a set for that too. Playing a lot of racing sims or other games that would benefit from analog triggers? I think you get the point. And while there are third-party Joy-Con that answer some of these needs, as Bob pointed out, they all come with compromises in functionality, build quality, or both. My love of the competitive Smash scene has even introduced me to the world of modded controllers that are specifically made to make some of the more advanced techniques in the game more consistent. I think in scenarios like this, offering special edition controllers with similar modifications in official branded controllers would have a sizable market with players like me that would love to improve but maybe aren't confident that spending the price it costs to have one specifically made is worth it for them. This method could be very pricey in the long run though. As I'm sure you could imagine, needing to buy one controller for every specific need you might have as a gamer could get out of control really quick. On some level, they could mask this a bit by bundling the specialized controllers like the ones I described for Smash Ultimate with the games they are meant for. But for the type of consumer that feels the need to buy all of the major SKUs available for controllers on a platform, i.e. having a Pro Controller and Joy-Con rather than just using one or the other, it could just straight up not be feasible to buy specialized controllers for every game they own. In addition to that, it would be a hell of a lot easier for Nintendo on a supply chain level to just produce one product to solve all of these problems, and that is why I believe the best option would be to lean into the modular controller market. As far as the modular side of things goes, Nintendo has clearly done some thinking on this with patents that stretch back both before and after the Nintendo Switch's release. I think if they can manage to translate these patents into actual products with engineering quality of life improvements on that rough design, modular Joy-Con could be the solution to the problems that we have with the current Joy-Con. And yes, their wasted potential. Different people find different controllers comfortable to use for different reasons. So I think offering a modular design for Joy-Con that would allow for attachments for personalizing the style and shape of them, not too unlike the grips and cases that a lot of people use for Switch, that would make an elite style Joy-Con set worthwhile. Other premium controllers of this nature normally have additional remappable inputs, interchangeable buttons and analog sticks, and an all-around better build quality. All things I think the Joy-Con could benefit from, and I think people would be fine with paying a higher price tag for. And I think this should be facilitated in two major ways. First and foremost, I think they should bring the ability to custom order Joy-Cons like Japanese Switch owners can on Nintendo's site to international markets. This way, yes, people will be able to have better control over what Joy-Con they get with their Switch on a cosmetic level, but more importantly, it would be an efficient place to get attachments for this theoretical Joy-Con Pro, Elite, or whatever they want to call it, whether that be separately or in a bundle when you first purchase the Joy-Con. They could, of course, offer a base package with the moddable controllers and a few standard attachments, but I think it could be more cost effective for everyone involved if consumers can pick their attachments for themselves. For instance, say I want a set of Joy-Con with a standard D-pad, analog triggers, and I don't know, possibly buttons with less travel. That last one may be pushing it a bit, but you get the idea. Someone else may want a different combination of things like a different button layout, digital triggers, or the split D-pad. I think selling a standard bundle with the option to expand with more modulars would be more cost effective than making full controllers that specialize in these particular things on an individual basis, for consumers at least. Finally, I want to talk about the Joy-Con grips. Straight up, I think they should come in way more form factors than they do currently. And honestly, I think they should discontinue the non-battery powered grip, because if you're playing your Switch while docked and your Joy-Con begin to die, there's no other way to charge them. So it's kind of unfair to force people to pay extra money for something that should be included in the box anyway. While that may be fine for players that already have another set of Joy-Con or a Pro Controller, or wouldn't mind just docking their Switch until it charges, I don't think that should be reason enough to skimp on the grip solution. These can be used to address the Joy-Con size issue I mentioned as well, and different designs could make the controllers better suited options ergonomically if done right. Also, I tried to steer away as much as possible from talking about aesthetic improvements, since Parker already covered that side of things pretty well in his initial Joy-Con video, which you should check out. I've linked it in the card above, but I think Nintendo would be smart to make the grips in more colors, preferably colors that match their Joy-Con color options, since most third-party grips drop the ball on that. To wrap things up, I think the only real drawback to a Pro-style Joy-Con set is that they aren't very well targeted at casual play, and they wouldn't be a great sell for families, but I'm sure players like me that would like to play more intensive Switch games in handheld mode without fear of messing up Joy-Cons at a higher level of quality would be in the market for something like this. But those are my thoughts. What do you think? Would you buy Nintendo Switch Joy-Con Pros, Nintendo Switch Joy-Con Elites, or whatever they may call them? What would you like to see Nintendo do with them? Let me know that and more in the comments down below, and I'll pick some of my favorite comments to discuss on our weekly podcast directly to you, which is linked in the end card. It's every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you would click the like button and share the video with a friend that you also think might enjoy it. And if you really enjoyed it and you would like to see more now, you can always subscribe and click the bell for more videos like this every Tuesday and Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Okay, that's it for me. See you next week.